Hi, gang. It's Patrick.
And Ryan.
Coming up on today's episode, we're having another tea party and celebrating Ryan's first episode as GDTD co-host. As always, we discuss the latest Disney news, and we close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Ryan, welcome to the party, Hollingsworth.
Thank you, Patrick. Only shops at Costco on the weekends. Costco. I don't know where I was going with that, but I decided to just go with it.
I love it. Actually, the opposite. I cannot go to Costco on the weekends because I will get run over by shopping carts and people who don't care about other people.
Yeah, it's intense. I come from the land of Sam's and Walmart, being from Arkansas, and I did not know the levels at which people Costco. I feel like it's the movie Jingle All the Way, but all year long in Costco.
I love that you used Costco as a verb, and I'm here for it, and I'm using it from now on.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people transform. They're a whole different energy when they're in Costco.
Everyone's a monster in Costco, it turns out.
Yes, I want that on a t-shirt.
Yes.
Everyone's a monster in Costco.
Absolutely, Costco. If you are listening, we will accept your ad-supported money if you want to support us that way. But you have to know that everyone's a monster in your stores, Costco.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it turns out this is actually a Disney podcast, so we should probably pivot to start talking about Disney things.
I guess so,
If you will, if you want to. Well, Ryan, welcome officially to the GDTD family. So excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm super hype, also slightly nervous. I have so many different feelings. I feel like that I am ultimate fangirling right now, especially to see the behind the scenes. I feel like that I have the what's the tour called? The Keys to the Kingdom tour. I feel like I have that right now with the GDTD setup. So,
well, it turns out you're a tour guide now, so you don't get to be on the tour anymore. You are the tour guide.
Oh my gosh, what pressure.
No pressure at all. Again, we're so excited to have you here. I've said it millions of times, and I'll say it millions more times. I am a huge fan of yours. I just think you're such an amazing person, and I can't wait to see what unravels here on our first episode together.
We're doing it.
We are doing it. We have a lot to talk about in this episode, I have to tell you. Of course, we're going to get your Distery lesson, and we're going to have a little tea party later on in the episode. But first, yes. Ryan, we have to say happy anniversary to us, Gays Do the D. 4 years running now. On September 9th, 2018, we recorded our very first episode.
Happy 4 years to us. I can't believe it. I think back to whenever I very first started listening to Gays to the D, me and Lane, my husband, we were actually on a road trip in the middle of absolute nowhere. And we were just looking at podcasts, and both of us were really missing Disney. And we were like, you know what, let's just listen to a Disney podcast. We were instantly obsessed. I think that y'all had 15 episodes out at that point.
Oh my gosh.
And we listened to all 15 of them on the way back on this trip. And crazy to think 4 years later, here y'all are now.
Here you are now as well.
Well, yeah, I guess here I am too. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Yeah.
I love it. It is really bonkers to think that. I mean, I looked at that date and I was like, that cannot be correct. 4 years ago, we started this podcast. It seems, I don't know, it seems like it was yesterday, honestly. I know that sounds really cliche, but it does not seem like we've been doing this for 4 years. So thank you to all of our Tweedles who have been with us since the beginning. Thank you to everyone who's joined us since then. And, thank you to you three, you, JT, and Kale, for joining us in this new chapter of Gays Do the D.
Absolutely. It is an honor, a privilege, and here's to 4 more.
Yeah. I mean, if I live that long, that'll be a miracle in and of itself.
So high risk.
Yeah.
So high risk.
I do live a high risk life. You know me that way. Oh my goodness. Well, speaking of our Tweedles, we have got some listener feedback from our previous episode. If you'll remember, JT and I were talking about Alani because it just celebrated its birthday recently. And one of our listeners wrote in who just happened to go to Alani and left us a few words. I'm talking about Kevin. You can find Kevin on Instagram at KDEVO, so KDevo11. And Kevin says...
Yes, Kevin.
Yes, Kevin. Kevin says, we just went to Hawaii for the first time this summer, and part of our stay was 3 nights at Alani. The resort itself was absolutely beautiful. The theming, cast members, beach, and pool were all fantastic, but we had some problems with it as well. Dun, dun, dun. Kevin goes on to say, lots of kids everywhere. Granted, it's a Disney resort, so that was expected. One thing we thought Disney completely failed on, however, is partnering with the island itself. It's about 30 minutes, right? It's about 30 minutes away from the airport and on the west side of the island. If you want to explore the island at all, you need a car. It's so far away from everything that you would have to drive at least 30 to 40 minutes everywhere you'd want to go. Disney should be partnering with the island and creating excursions that they will bring you places to explore and see the culture. We met another couple our last night and told them all the things we saw and did, and they were shocked because they saw none of it because they just stayed at the resort. So if you're looking to just plop yourself down in a chair, then it's a place for you. But if you're going to explore Hawaii and see the island, then it is not for you at all. Interesting. We are glad we went and stayed there. We loved our room and we were right above the luau, so we saw part of that on the night we were there, but probably won't be going back. Would much rather stay on the North Shore or downtown Honolulu. Interesting.
Oh, interesting. I love that Kevin shouts out being really intentional with supporting the culture and shopping local while you're there. I think that that's so important, especially after watching White Lotus on HBO.
Oh,
have you seen
my
White
gosh.
Lotus?
Have I seen White Lotus? I was shocked, appalled, amazed, and intrigued by that TV show.
Same. Wild, but hopefully Kevin and his husband did not have a White Lotus experience while they were there.
I really hope.
But I think that that's super helpful insight, and it's something that I haven't heard yet from people who have visited Alani.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a really good insight. So thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, special shout out to Kevin as well. This episode will have already aired, but me and Kevin and his husband will be doing a park day next weekend, and it's our very first time meeting each other in person. So I'm super excited to meet you, Kevin. Yeah.
I love that. Very exciting. Make sure you take pictures, and we will post them on the gram.
Absolutely. So we have another listener comment from Jeff at FunJeff on Instagram. I think maybe one of the best Instagram names I've ever heard. He's not just a regular Jeff. He's a fun Jeff. I love that. Yes. So Fun Jeff shares, I love JT's idea of Carousel of Progress, the TV series, but now all I can think about is the ride being rethemed to Carousel of Progress under new management with Wanda Maximoff. Thoughts there?
I love that.
I do too. Could you imagine, like, everything gets like a little dystopian in very, very small moments, and it could become like a really scary ride if you really think about it.
I'm super into this idea. I think it is the best retheming I can even picture right now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Kevin, for your thoughts and your feedback on the episode. We also have a listener question from one of our Tweedles, Janice. You may remember Janice. Speaking of 4 years ago, I believe Janice was one of our very first, if not our very first guest on Gaze to the D. She is a former Disney College program student at Disney World. Janice, you can find on Instagram at Nacho Tache. Janice says, hello, Patrick and new hosts. Hope you're doing well. First, I want to say thank you to Adam for all of his contributions to the podcast. Gaze to the D is the podcast I routinely listen to. It has brought me much joy, so thank you. Adam, you will be missed. Patrick and new hosts, thank you for continuing this journey. I do have a question for you fine gents. Janice says, I am attending a conference in Orlando this fall for work. My 2 coworkers have decided that we will attend Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I had no issue with this this, of course. However, do you have any suggestions for a good costume for 3 coworkers? I don't want to waste a chance to dress up at Disney. Any suggestions would be appreciated. Thanks. Oh, Janice.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah, I'm sure we can come up with something.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so 3 people, my initial thoughts, which this is very specific. I've quickly learned that not everybody remembers this show, but do you remember PB&J Otter?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I ever actually fully watched it.
I used to go hard for some PB&J Otter back in the day, so PB&J Otter would be adorable. I was also thinking about the 3 maidens from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh my gosh.
We're fawning over Gaston. That would be hilarious.
That's a great idea. That's an amazing idea. I'd love that. I also was thinking, I immediately went to the Sanderson sisters. That might be an interesting outfit. And if you're going to go for more, if you want to do like more Disney bounding, I'm thinking like Bambi, Thumper, and Flower might be a cute idea.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Good idea. Yeah, if we wanted to go Disney Channel, we could go maybe with like Kim Possible, Ron Stoppable, and the Naked Mole Rat. Which whoever ends up being the Naked Mole Rat, feel free to take artistic liberties there.
I love this. Love that. Love that journey. I'm thinking Huey, Dewey, and Louie could be cute.
Oh, yes. Huey, Dewey, and Louie could be adorable. The Tres Caballeros, of course, we don't want any cultural appropriation. So
I was just going to say.
Yeah. Maybe we just cut that out. Maybe we just completely cut that idea.
We're keeping it on the podcast, but we're letting everyone know, please do not culturally appropriate the 3
do
caballeros.
Not culturally appropriate.
You know what? I'm really feeling your idea of the 3 ladies from Beauty and the Beast. I think that would be a hilarious costume.
That would be hysterical. And they just go around fainting. They just faint in every park. I think that would be so fun.
This is amazing. Or, oh my gosh, or the 3, those 3 sister bears in the Country Bear Jamboree that have the blue bonnets?
Yes, that would be so good.
That would be amazing. So all you need is just blue outfits and those blue bonnets, and everyone will know exactly who you are.
That's hysterical. I think that's the one. I think that they need to be the 3 sisters from Country Bear Jamboree.
Amazing. I love this. All right. Well, Janice, we've given you 150 ideas. Mm-hmm. So all you need to do is not culturally appropriate, and you'll be fine. And let us know what you choose.
Absolutely. Good luck, Janice. Godspeed.
Godspeed to you. We love it. Amazing. Oh, okay. So moving on. Let's keep talking about our Tweedles because we love them, and apparently they love us because, Ryan, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 new Patreon members to celebrate this week.
Ooh, okay. Who is it? Tell us all about them, Patrick.
Here's their names and their history and addresses. No, I'm just kidding. But we do have Jayla, Joe, and Jason, all J names, joining us in our Patreon family.
Are they related?
I wish that were the case. Although, fun fact, if it's the Joe that I'm thinking of, and I'm pretty sure that it is, she is related to my husband. So thank you, Joe, for joining us.
Thank you, Joe. We love that. Well, Jayla, Joe, and Jason, if y'all want to make a Patreon alliance, I don't know what that would entail, but I feel like 3 J's, that carries a Kardashian power unparalleled to anyone else. And so I feel like that y'all have to get together at some point.
I love this. Full of good ideas. Thank you so much, Ryan. Well, with them joining our Patreon family, we are now up to 56 Patreon family members to celebrate. I can't tell you how much that means to us. As we've said many times here on the podcast, really and truly, every single dollar that you all donate to us goes directly into the podcast to just keep the lights on, really, here on the show. So thank you so much for your support. If you have not checked us out yet, you can find us online by going to gazetothed.com and clicking on that donate button, where for as little as $1 reoccurring a month, you too can join the Patreon family that we are growing and caring for here on the podcast. You can join Jayla, Joe, and Jason and just join us. It's a party. It's a party for you when you're absolutely. A Patreon member. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and $1 doesn't seem like a much, but $1 is 1 whole McChicken sandwich, and that feeds at least kale, so we're good to go.
I love that. Yeah, that's part of what I mean by keeping the lights on. We mean just keeping kale fed and happy.
Yeah.
That's really what we mean by that. And now is a really good time actually to become a Patreon member, because one of the perks of being a Patreon member is that you get automatically included in Patreon only giveaways, and it being our 4-year anniversary, on our next episode we are going to be announcing a giveaway. So all of you Patreon members are going to be automatically entered in that giveaway. So if you want to join us, now's the time to do so. So once again, thank you to all of our Patreon members. Moving on, Ryan, we have a trailer to talk about. The Pinocchio trailer has dropped on Disney Plus and YouTube and all over. What do you think? Did you watch it?
So, yes, I did. And at first I was pretty skeptical when I found out that Pinocchio was the next live remake, because honestly, I have a hot take. None of the live remakes I've been particularly excited about. And, Pinocchio, I was like, okay, this has some potential. I could be more excited about this. And then I watched the trailer and I actually am hype. I didn't think I was going to be, but I actually am super excited. And the turning point for me was the moment that I heard Cynthia Erivo's voice. That was the turning point for me. I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, is that who I think it is? And then she came from that window and I about fell out. So that's what I'm super excited about.
I mean, if you're not here for Cynthia Erivo, then you're doing it wrong, I feel like, because she is incredible. She's a queen. It's a great cast, other than Cynthia Erivo playing the Blue Fairy, of course. We have Tom Hanks playing Geppetto. Luke Evans is playing the coachman. Okay, you can get it, Luke Evans. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is voicing Jiminy Cricket. Keegan-Michael Key is playing the fox. I mean, it's a really great cast. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I didn't think that I was going to be excited about this remake. Pinocchio has never been super up there on favorite Disney movies of mine personally.
Fair.
But I do think that this has a lot of space to go places, and also with CGI now, there's just going to be so many cool things that they can do with all of the different scenes and all of the different places that Pinocchio goes to. I think it's going to be actually really fantastic.
I think so too. It's such a dark story. I'm interested to see if they explore those spaces within Pinocchio. Hopefully they do, because it's in Disney canon, it is one of the darker movies, I would say. So that's very exciting. And here's what I'll say though: we've been tricked before by these trailers, right? We have seen some amazing Disney trailers for live action remakes, and they disappointed in the end. I'm thinking Dumbo specifically. Did not love it.
Yeah, bless Dumbo's heart. I will say, okay, so question for you. Which movie that has not been made as a live remake would you be super hype about?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. Here's my thing about remakes. I don't necessarily need them in my life. I don't care enough about them. I'm like, we'll just make a live action movie. Don't remake a movie. You know what I mean? That being said, I want to honor your question and say, I feel like there could be potential. Everyone's going to come for me on this one, but there could be potential in retelling Bambi. I think it might be an interesting exploration, but we've gone down that road with The Lion King, I suppose, and people were not thrilled with just an all animal cast, because it's just hard. It's like, why not just make it a cartoon? I don't understand, but that's what I would say. What about you?
So my thought process here is that there are several super underrated movies that came out in the early 2000s that I feel like never got the attention that they deserved.
Okay.
If Atlantis, The Lost Empire, ever decides to make a live remake, I will lose my mind. If Treasure Planet ever gets a live remake, I will also lose my mind about that too.
Excellent options. I love that. Yeah, I always just forget about those movies completely. I think a lot of people do. Disney doesn't really celebrate them.
Yeah, Disney doesn't really celebrate them. And I feel like that there is a lot of movies between like 2001 to like 2006 that like are bangers, but nobody really talks about them.
I love that. Yeah, totally right. Very interesting. Tweedles out there, let us know your thoughts on those, and let us know your thoughts on the Pinocchio trailer, which incidentally comes out this week. I actually forgot to mention, on September 8th for Disney Plus Day.
Whoop, whoop. I know that what I'll be doing. I'll be popping some popcorn and I will be ready.
I love it. I love that journey for you. Well, moving on, before we get into the news, Ryan, we once again have come to This Week in Disney History. Are you ready to get your learning on?
Give me some history. I want a lesson.
Well, buckle up. Here we go. Let's start out with the birthday, as per usual. 128 years ago, Ryan, on September 12th, 1894, actor Billy Gilbert was born in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, Gilbert started his career at the age of 12 as a vaudeville performer. He would go on to appear in over 200 feature films and worked with the likes of Laurel and Hardy. Now, as part of his act, Gilbert developed a character who would get very excited or very nervous about something, which would cause him to sneeze in an over-exaggerated manner. He became so famous for this that Disney cast him as Sneezy in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And, fun fact, he would later go on to be the original voice for Willie the Giant in Mickey and the Beanstalk in Fun and Fancy Free.
I did not know that. That is fascinating.
I didn't either. I was like, my jaw dropped when I heard that he played both characters, but I didn't know that they cast this guy specifically because he was famous for sneezing in his act. They cast him as, of course, Sneezy in Snow White.
Yeah, I have never thought about how there's always a person or an inspiration that a lot of these characters come from. And so I would be interested to hear where all 7 of the dwarves, like where their ideas originated from.
I bet there's a story behind some of them, at least. In my head, I always just kind of assume that like the same person just voiced all 7 of the dwarfs for some reason. I don't know. I've never explored that territory before, but very interesting.
I think I honestly would have assumed the same thing, but you learn something new every day.
We sure did. We sure did. Well, moving on, speaking of learning, we have one more piece of Disney history to talk about. 58 years ago, on September 14th, 1964, Walt Disney received the Presidential Medal of Honor from President Johnson for his contributions to pop culture through the creation of Disney, Disney theme parks, and, of course, Mickey Mouse. Now, the Medal of Honor is the nation's highest civilian honor given to those who have made exceptional contributions to the United States. Other recipients include Oprah Winfrey, Lucille Ball, Martin Luther King, and Sandra Day O'Connor, just to name a few.
Oh, I love that. Also very interesting to know who else has received that award before.
A lot of people, a lot of interesting people. Unfortunately, in my humble opinion, the the honor has been tainted a little bit from a former president of ours who named a couple of people who I'm like, ooh, would we say that those are great contributions? I won't name them, but listen, you can do the research.
Yeah. I won't even. We'll do. Redacted. That's all I'll say. Redacted.
I think you can probably just flip through the pages and point them out and be like, "Yep, mistake. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were made." Well, that concludes this week in Disney history, Ryan, which means the news is right around the corner. Are you ready to teach the children at home what's going on right now?
I am ready to go into the news. I am ready to be the Trevor Noah, the Anderson Cooper of your dreams.
They are in my dreams, in fact, and now you are as well. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I completely agree. Both of them are in my dreams as well.
Disney recently made it rain on a few food banks in California and Florida. A few weeks ago, Disney donated $100,000 to Second Harvest Food Bank in Central Florida. Now, this donation was in addition to the $500,000 donated earlier this year as part of the 50th anniversary celebration. A portion of this donation will go to the Second Harvest Culinary Training Program, which provides students with the culinary and life skills needed to pursue a career in the culinary arts at no charge to the students. Disney also donated a pair of non-slip shoes to every student currently enrolled in that program. Now, not to be outdone by themselves, over in California, Disney donated $100,000 to the Orange County Food Bank and $100,000 to Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County. Now, these donations are just a part of the work that Disney has done this year to support both children and adults in need of nutritious food options. This year alone, Disney has donated nearly $20 million worth of food to hunger relief organizations, equaling over 2.1 million meals. Amazing.
That is amazing. Way to go, Disney.
Way to go, Disney. I love these stories. I always jump on them when I see a chance to talk about the good that Disney is doing in the world. I know that there's a lot that, we have some questions about that Disney does, but it's easy to forget like what impact Disney actually does have on local communities. It's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really interesting how, with the new generation of both us and Gen Z keeping major companies accountable, it's really cool to see Disney kind of match that accountability with action. So
love that. Let's hope that no one starts to keep us accountable, because we'll be in huge trouble, I think.
Huge trouble, because, my follow-up game is not great. Applications are now open to become a 2023 Plan Disney panelist. You may be wondering, what exactly is a Plan Disney panelist? Well, according to DisneyParks.com, Plan Disney is a diverse group of passionate and knowledgeable guests, just like you, who share their insights on PlanDisney.com to help other guests maximize their Disney vacations. Panelists are chosen for their ability to answer questions in one of 4 specialties: Walt Disney World Resort, Disneyland Resort, Disneyland Cruise Line, and Disney Vacation Club. As a Plan Disney panelist, we're here to listen to every question and provide a genuine, personalized response, says current panelist Michelle. We've tasted every snack, tested every ride, and sailed on all 5 cruise ships, and indulged in nearly every enchanting extra. So you may be wondering, okay, this sounds really cool. I also have an extensive Instagram. How can I become a Plan Disney panelist? Well, the search for new panelists consists of 3 rounds, a series of short answer questions, a brief video submission, and an interview. You can begin your application journey as soon as September 7th at noon Eastern. And for more information and eligibility requirements, go to PlanDisneySearch.com.
I love that. I love that they have tasted every snack. That made me laugh super hard.
That made me laugh too, because it's like, have you?
Have you though? I don't know if you have. Now, I have in fact tasted every single snack at Disney.
I am one of those people that I get very habitual. I eat the exact same thing pretty much every single time that I go. So I need to do better.
Oh, we're going to dig into that later for sure.
Yeah.
Trust and believe.
Okay, yeah.
Now, this next story is more of a rumor at this point, but rumor has it that Disney is potentially considering creating a new membership program similar to Amazon Prime. Now, this membership would cross all divisions at Disney, including parks and entertainment, Disney Plus, and merchandise. According to the Wall Street Journal, sources at Disney have confirmed this rumor, but Disney has not yet made an official statement about it as of this recording. However, Disney's chief communications officer Kristen Shockey has said, quote, "Technology is giving us new ways to customize and personalize the consumer experience so that we are delivering entertainment, experiences, and products that are most relevant to each of our guests." A membership program is just one of the exciting ideas that is being explored. So, what would this new membership program look like? Hard to know, but it would likely tailor experiences and benefits based on an individual's behavior. For example, if you are a frequent Shop Disney guest, you could be sent discounts based on your shopping habits, or if you're a frequent Run Disney attendee, you could be invited to early enrollment opportunities or special VIP areas at the events, or if you're an annual pass holder, you still likely won't get anything because Disney doesn't give anything to pass holders.
This is true. An unfavorable, what the unfavorable guest? We're the unfavorable guest now, right?
Uh-huh. Yep, exactly that.
All right, Bob.
Thanks, J-Pack. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So, Patrick, how do you feel about this launch?
I think it's an interesting idea, but I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed with all of the new things you have to pay for just to experience Disney at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I love the thought of it because Sister loves some discounts, and Sister also loves a point system. If you can give me a star on something, I don't know if that is like the the Enneagram 3 in me. Maybe there's some like unpacked childhood trauma there. But if you can give me stars, I will shop anywhere. So I'm kind of all about it.
You want so badly to be a favorable guest now that Disney has tarnished us.
I want to be Bob's favorite. I don't want to be just any favorable guest. I want to be Bob's favorite guest out of anyone.
I love that journey for you.
I'll keep everybody updated.
I love it.
Next up, according to TheVerge.com, Disney's ad-supported tier of Disney Plus will cost $7.99 per month, the current cost of an ad-free plan, and will be available beginning December 8th. The company announced this the week of August 10th. That same day, there will be a price hike for the ad-free plan, which will cost $10.99 per month. Patrick, what are your thoughts?
I mean, same as I just said in the previous news segment. Disney, I don't understand what you're doing with your pricing lately. It's confusing. It's very confusing with all of the different levels and tiers and things like that. I'm not a huge fan of it, I have to tell you.
Yeah, it's getting less and less straightforward, and it really, if you don't do your research whenever you're purchasing kind of anything Disney now, you're not really knowing what you're buying, and I think that is tough, and access to information is super important. So I agree. I will probably keep mine at the $7.99 per month. Fun fact about me, Patrick, I kind of love commercials. Like me and Lane, whenever we find commercials that we love, we sing the jingles all the time. This is also a fun fact about Lane, is that he's been singing commercial jingles. He still knows like the Dr. Pepper jingle from when he was like 6 years old. Like, so I'm actually kind of excited about it. I hope that maybe Stanley Steamers will update their theme song, and then I get a new song to learn on my tier.
Well, as we talked about earlier in the episode, this episode of Gaze to the D is supported by Costco. That's right, Costco, where
Costco.
Everyone's a monster.
Yes, where everyone's a monster. And this is exactly how I become Bob's most favorable guest, is that I learn every commercial jingle possible and I perform them for him like a jester.
This is amazing. Please keep us posted on this.
Yes, I will keep you posted.
Ryan, are you ready to talk all about yourself for the next 45 to 50 minutes?
Me talking about myself? Never.
Don't make me sing. Don't make me do it.
Don't make me sing.
Oh, I love it. Well, as we all know by now, you of course are the latest and greatest to join us here on Gaze to the D as a permanent co-host here on the show, and we need to learn all about you. We need to get your distory. You got to give us your distory lesson. We have some questions for you. Some of our Tweedles have submitted questions for you. And then we have some fun topics to talk about in our tea party later on. Ryan, are you ready to jump into it?
Let's do it.
Amazing. All right, so let's start off with your distory. We want to know how you got involved with Disney or how Disney found you. Tell us all about it.
Sure, absolutely. So Disney actually started with my mom, like our family tradition of going to Disney and all things Disney movies and everything like that. My mom, her name was Sonda. She loved Disney so much, and I think that she loved Disney because she kind of handed that to me, and I also loved it. It was kind of our thing that we did together. So my very first trip to Disney World, I had just turned 5, and I actually remember it like it was yesterday because it was my very first time on an airplane, my very first time kind of going out of state to like a tropical place. So I remember going to the beach and seeing a crab for the first time. There was so many first times on this trip that I distinctly remember riding all of the rides that I rode and just being in awe and wonder. So I was 5, and then that quickly became a family tradition to where we went to Disney World for about a week every year.
Wow.
My favorite trip as a kid was, I think I was 7 or 8, and my dad's boss had an RV, and we took a road trip from Arkansas to Florida in an RV. And just in my little mind, my mind was blown that I could like lay down in bed and watch a movie while we were still driving. Like that whole concept was crazy to me. We ended up staying at like I don't think that we stayed at Fort Wilderness. I think it was a KOA campground situation in Florida. And the RV next to us had a little girl in that RV, and we played Barbies every day on vacation after we got home from the parks and got to meet her family. It was just like such a interesting trip, and I think that was probably my actual favorite one from whenever I was a kid. So sadly, my mom passed away whenever I was about to turn 9, and that kind of ended our Disney trip vacation tradition. And so then I became like a cold-hearted teenager. I went to Disneyland like that sounded dark. I didn't mean it that way, but I went to Disneyland for the first time whenever I was 13. And I had an okay time. It was a weird time in my life. What 13-year-old doesn't have a weird time? And
sure,
it was very interesting. On that trip, I actually found out that I was going to have a sibling. I grew up an only child, so that was pretty crazy for me too. Wow. So that Disneyland trip has a special place in my heart. Learning that my sister Reagan was soon to come 9 months later. And then pretty much after that, I didn't go to Disney World or wasn't super heavily involved with a lot of Disney things. I then was about 25 and whenever me and Lane got married, and I didn't know that Lane also grew up loving Disney and going to the parks and everything. And one day we were just kind of sitting at dinner, and he was like, hey, this is going to sound like a weird question, but would you ever be interested in going to Disney World with me? And he had no idea that was like a huge part of my life during one chapter. And I like started crying, and I was like, yes, I want to go to Disney World with you. And we took a trip together that year. I believe it was 2016, and that 2016 or 2017. And that just like opened up the door for me again. And it made me rediscover Disney. It made me reconnect to kind of like my inner child that needed to be healed through grief. And we started going twice a year after that. And then lo and behold, who knew in a turn of events that we would move to Orlando at the very beginning of the pandemic. Actually, we were like 2 months in, like we were still super locked down. Like people were still washing their groceries at this point. Like this was Corona season 1 whenever we moved to Orlando. And I don't know if any of our listeners also made a major life move like that at the very beginning of lockdown. Do not recommend. It all ended up working out, but we moved here, the parks were shut down, and it gave us a really great opportunity to actually get to know local Orlando a bit more than what we had. And we learned that the city itself, for all of our listeners, if you have never explored actual local Orlando when you come on your Disney trips, I cannot recommend it more. It's a fantastic city. There's so much going on, so much food, so much culture that a lot of tourists that come into town don't actually know about. And so that brings us to today, annual pass holder. I probably go to the parks probably about once every other week. I would like to think that I'm the on-the-ground correspondent for GDTD. Any given weekday, you will catch me with a dockside margarita in my hands if I've had a stressful day at work. Just doing a quick lap, So, yeah.
I love that. Just a tight lap in and out of Disney. Just
a tight lap, It's funny because sometimes if me and Lane have had like a tough week, what we do is we'll send each other a calendar invite. If I'm like, oh my gosh, that meeting was so stressful, it'll be a calendar invite, and it'll say like weekday serotonin boost, and we will have made reservations at like a resort for dinner that night or something like that. So we'll just like go right after work and just pop in for dinner, and then maybe ride a ride and then head on home. It's been great.
I love that. That kind of brings me to a question I have for you, is that now that you are a local of Orlando and so close, like it's just like you can reach out and touch the parks basically. Has that deteriorated any of the magic for you, or has it built some different magic for you? How is that being so close to Disney?
I think that if anything, it's just added like kerosene to the fire. I think, it definitely was super special only getting to go twice a year beforehand. But if anything, I feel like it's that much more special to have access to something that is so important to our family, and we still utilize it in a way to spend really intentional time with each other and reconnect with each other. I think also being closer to the parks has given us opportunities to meet some of the people that both Lane and I have been so close to via the internet and via social media. All of these people who live really far away that, there wasn't really an option to get to see them. Now we get to have friends that live in so many different areas that we get to see on a regular basis. And that has meant so much to us, especially in starting a new friend group here in Orlando. So it's been really fantastic. I'll also say anytime that like something new drops or you hear new news, it's always that much more fun to be in the park that day of or the day after.
Yes.
You feel the buzz, you feel the excitement, not only from guests, but also from cast members too. So I think it's just made the fire even bigger.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love that we have you as such a wonderful resource now on the podcast of someone who's like there in the trenches who can tell us like firsthand experiences of a lot of these new news stories like you're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am very excited to be in the trenches. The only thing is my only boundary is I will not fight anybody for a popcorn bucket. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I've seen some videos.
Never ask. Yeah.
I've seen some videos and I want to live to see 32, so I'm not going to be in the parks at any popcorn bucket drop.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That'll be our wall. Like that's the distinction, our separation. No popcorn buckets.
Yeah,
noted.
Absolutely.
I love that. What a wonderful story. I am the way just hearing you talk about it and knowing you, and I can't wait to get to know you more, obviously, but you and Lane both bring us such a great sense of community with everybody online, in the parks, now here in the podcast. And so your story makes absolute sense of like where all that came from. And so I'm so blessed to have you in my life. And I hope that all of our Tweedles feel the same as well.
Oh, thank you. I think the best way to sum it up is that like Disney and a love of Disney came from family, and then I lost that family, and then I gained new family that I didn't even know that I needed. So it's just been a beautiful connector, and I think what better way to meet people than to partake in things that are so joyous and just so full of just sheer honest interest. I think as we spend more time in the internet, as all of us do, some of us can get really jaded because people love to make fun of other people and their interests on the internet. And
absolutely.
I think what a great way to combat that than to find your spot with your people and do the things that you love. I think that's really important.
So well said. Well, let's move on. I have a few more questions for you before we get to our Tweedle submitted questions. So just not necessarily rapid fire, but what is your favorite Disney movie? Maybe it changes here and there, but what is your current favorite Disney movie?
My favorite Disney movie, there are so many different ones that I could say, and we could break this down into categories. But my favorite Disney movie is Princess and the Frog. I think just all around. I'm from Arkansas, and I'm from Southern Arkansas, so like right around, not that far from the Louisiana border. And my family has been in and out of Louisiana kind of all of my life, and kind of the Delta overall, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, get slept on within the whole entire country. We often get made fun of, but there's so much history and so much just like a unique culture that comes from growing up in the Delta and kind of having that Raging Cajun energy. I loved seeing Disney represent that culture, representing all of the fun things that come with it. Black church, voodoo, The food, so many things that were so important in my life growing up, I get out of that movie. And just to see a Black Disney princess, that was like a really transformative experience, not just for me, but my sister was maybe 4 at the time, 3 or 4. And so whenever that movie came out and her getting to have a Disney princess, whenever she is at prime Disney princess age that looked like her, that was like a huge moment. So I would say Princess and the Frog. Yeah.
Wonderful answer. It's such a beautiful, like just visually as well, like everything you said, but it's beautiful. Yeah.
Stunning. I really hope that they bring back 2D animation at some point for another Disney movie soon. I think it's a lost art now, and I really hope that they bring it back.
Well, there are rumors. I just read the other day that there are, and maybe more to come at D23 this coming week, but there's rumors of a couple of Disney films that might go back to hand-drawn animation, which will be really exciting to see, I think.
Oh, I hope so. I think, and I think that I know that they're nervous that like the new generation of children won't appreciate it, but I think that they actually will. I think that especially like if you look at Gen Z, I know Gen Z's in their 20s now, but they have an appreciation for things that are like crafted, and I think that will just only continue.
It'll be the bespoke Disney movie then instead.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. All right, well, moving on. What is your favorite Disney park?
So I'm going to say this, and I will give the stipulation that I have never been to a Disney International Park or a Disney International Resort. I'm hoping to cross that off my list in 2023. But I'm going to say that my favorite Disney park as a child was actually Hollywood Studios. I used to be obsessed with the 1920s, 30s, and 40s as a kid. Loved the music. I loved the culture of old Hollywood. I loved antique cars. And actually, one of my favorite movies as a kid was the Temptations movie. Do you remember that? It's like...
Yes.
It's like 4 hours long and so inappropriate for a child to watch, but I used to be obsessed with it. And I used to have like a Temptations Greatest Hits CD.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's weird that I just said that, but oh well. So I used to love Hollywood Studios to just like be in that culture and hearing the big band music all around me. As an adult, favorite Disney park is Epcot. I love Epcot. I love all of the food. I love, of course, all of the alcoholic beverages. But I just think that Epcot is so fun because it's relaxing. You don't have to rush to do anything in Epcot, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, totally. Kale and I think we're talking about that on his most recent episode of like, it's like a community and conversational park that you don't feel like overwhelmed necessarily. You're just like, oh, we can just do what we want in Epcot and just call it a day,
Exactly. And some people have thoughts around half-day parks, of parks that you don't spend a full day in. And I think that half-day parks are actually great because you get to have kind of the exact day that you want to, and you're not really missing out on anything. And that's what I love about Epcot. I don't feel rushed. I just feel like that I can have my margarita and I can take a breather. I can sit down if I want to. I can go get some air conditioning if I want to. It's just great.
Yeah, I love that. Well, speaking of the parks, what is your favorite attraction in a Disney park?
My favorite attraction is Haunted Mansion in Magic Kingdom. I love, if you're a good friend of mine and you're listening to this, you know exactly what I'm going to say. I love a soft spook. I love a soft spook. I love things that are like Halloween and scary, but they're adorable. So Haunted Mansion, I think, is scary but adorable. And I actually have like a pretty big Haunted Mansion tattoo on my arm, and there's something, even the smell of Haunted Mansion, I just love it. Yeah. Anything that's like spooky little zombies, spooky little ghost, I'm all about it.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time on the podcast. It's just such a fan favorite ride, and rightfully so, because it's so wonderfully created. Like the science behind it and the whimsy and the art behind it. It really is a perfect attraction, I would say.
It's a perfect, and I think it just like really does transport you, and you are kind of a little bit nervous. You're like, that's so silly, but also if it jumps out at me, I'm going to be scared. And I love things like that.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, let's move on to things that are not so scary. We're talking about food in Disney. Do you have a favorite place to eat? And do you have like a favorite snack that you like to get? You talked a little bit about you're a habitual person, so I'm sure you have something.
I do. I'm a very habitual person. I like to do the same things over and over again. Favorite places to eat. I will say we ate together at Toledo whenever you came to visit at the top of the Coronado Springs Tower. And it was so delicious. It's probably one of my favorite meals that I've ever had at Disney. And I'm really glad that you got to be a part of one of my favorite meals that I've ever had at Disney as well. So I'm going to say Toledo is up there. In the parks themselves, I just you can't beat San on Hill. San on Hill, from like appetizers all the way through desserts, is just spectacular. And I love like the candlelit dinner, and you're right by the Aztec temple, and it's just so dreamy and so romantic. And I think people don't take the time to like sit down and eat there very often. So that's definitely going to be my vote for like favorite restaurant to eat at. My favorite snack, I love a Mickey's ice cream sandwich all year round. And I know that you can get them at Kroger, but I don't care. There's something that is like in the parks, Mickey's ice cream sandwich that hits different. My favorite adult snack, aka alcoholic beverage. I'm gonna go back to Mexico again in Epcot, and if you haven't, at La Cava, if you haven't had the wild one before, it is the mezcal based margarita. All you need is one, and it is so good. so good.
I love that. I love that. I think when the first time you and I met, and Lane, I think that you and Lane went and got one of those while we were in Epcot, didn't you? Yeah.
Yes. I don't go to Epcot and not get a margarita. I can't.
It can't be done. Yeah.
It physically, I can't walk out without a margarita. And a lot of the times, if I drink around the world, I will double tap at Mexico because the margaritas are just so good.
Amazing. You're totally right in that even though you can now sometimes get some of these Disney snacks outside of Disney Park, it is absolutely not the same. They literally, for me, taste different. I don't know what it is. If you eat it in a Disney park, it tastes better.
It tastes better. As if you go to one of Lane's favorite traditions is if anytime we take a lap in Disney Springs, we end our night at Goofy's Kitchen at Goofy's Kitchen to make sure that we're picking up like a sweet treat for the ride home. And sometimes I can't wait and make it to the parking garage, and I'll eat my chocolate chip cookie. Sometimes I get 2 chocolate chip cookies, one to eat on the way out and then one to eat in the car. And I can confirm the one that I eat when I'm walking past the volcano at Rainforest Cafe tastes different than the one I eat in my Volkswagen Jetta. I'm just saying.
Amazing. I love that. All right. So this next question, I don't know how often you go to the resorts now that you are a local in Orlando, but I imagine you've stayed at the Disney resorts before, yes?
Yes, I've stayed at a few different resorts. I do love going to the resorts just for a quick lap. We like to call them free smells. Just going to go get some free smells real quick.
I love it.
I would say my favorite Disney resort just to be in and for the afternoon and for free smells and everything is definitely the Polynesian. Trader Sam's. I love tiki drinks. That's kind of something that I like to do in my free time is I've been learning a lot about cocktails, and I just love the tiki drinks at Trader Sam's. It's so much fun. Another favorite resort to just spend the afternoon in is Wilderness Lodge. I think it's so beautiful. And to get there from the boat, the ferry, I think it's just amazing. And it's just you feel like that you're almost hiking in Colorado when you're at Wilderness Lodge, and I really appreciate that. But controversial hot take, you just cannot beat staying at Pop Century. And I think what it is that it takes me back to my childhood staying at All Stars, and Pop Century just makes me feel like a kid. And I love staying there. That was our usual spot whenever we would come visit, and it makes me feel like that I'm a child on vacation. I think it's because Pop Century kind of smells like sunscreen, and I think it unlocks that memory for me.
It does. You're totally right. Now
Yeah.
that you're saying that, I'm like, that actually is the smell of Pop Century, is like sunscreen.
Yeah, it smells like sunscreen. Yeah, and in the best way, like not like a gross sunscreen. It just it smells like summer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, before we get to some Tweedle submitted questions, one more question from me. Is there something, and I'm sure that there is, but what is maybe just one thing off the top of your head that is on your Disney bucket list, your wish list right now to do at Disney?
Okay, one thing that is on my Disney bucket list, speaking of Wilderness Lodge that I had talked about earlier, I would love to stay in a cabin at Wilderness Lodge with like 10 of my closest friends for like
100%, yes.
a long 4-day weekend. Like the ultimate sleepover. Like we wake up in the cabin, we go into the parks for the day, and then come back home and just like grill out like on that beautiful back patio that all the cabins have.
Yes.
Yeah, that's on my bucket list. I really want to do it for my birthday one year. So that's pretty up there.
I fully support this. Fully support this for you. I will be in attendance whether or not you invite me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to show up.
Perfect. I will have to take out a mortgage to get one of those cabins, so please show up so we can Venmo request you.
I mean, if it's for your birthday, I think all of your friends should pitch in and help you out with that.
I think so too. We might have to add in like an extra 10 people to be able to afford it, so like 25 people in this like 3-bedroom cabin. What could go wrong, you know?
What could go wrong? We'll be like the Lost Boys.
Fine.
It'll be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it. I love that dream. I'm with you on that one. All right. We did have quite a few Tweedle submitted questions for you. Are you ready for those?
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. First up, we have two of our Tweedles actually had the exact same question for you. So we'll start with that one. At C_Ross22 and at Magical Travels with Randy want to know if you could upgrade or retheme any Disney attraction, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question.
Agreed.
So I think that Patrick, this is going to sound really controversial because it's one of your passions, but I'm going to throw it out there for the sake of psychological safety, you know? So yeah, we're a team and we have psychological safety on the team. All opinions are valued and heard and respected. So I am going to retheme Figment, Patrick.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I said it. I believe that I'm going to retheme Figment and I want it to be a like Meet the Robinsons type ride. I think Meet the Robinsons is another early 2000s film that is underrated. And I also think that it fits perfectly in with Epcot. And so I think it would be a fun ride-through ride. So that's what I would do.
Okay. Listen, as you said, all opinions and thoughts are welcome. However, if you get rid of Figment, we're going to have some words. We're going to have some issues.
Yeah, I know that's a controversial topic.
Yeah, they'll be respectful. They'll be respectful words, but the words will be had. Listen, here's what I'll say. I don't disagree that Imagination with Figment, I can't even remember what the title of the attraction is not a great attraction. It's not the best attraction. Yeah. And I'm okay with Figment just being a mascot within Epcot. I don't need him to have an attraction. So I will allow you your Meet the Robinsons attraction.
Okay, perfect. I'll give Figment like his own pavilion. How
there
about
we go.
That?
Okay.
Does that work? Okay, cool. Yeah.
That feels like a good trade with you on
cool,
that one.
Cool.
All right, moving on. We have at Nathan's Andy asking first Disney park core memory.
Oh, this is a great question. So I remember when I was little on this first trip that I'm telling you about from whenever I was like 5 years old, I remember my dad went to the gift shop and got like everybody hats for the day. And my mom, as fun as a person as she was, she also did have like some seriousness to her sometimes. And she was like not in a good mood that morning. I remember that. And my dad had bought her, because, you know, kind of some of the hats from the 90s were a little atrocious. And he bought her like a mini helmet. It was almost like a helmet. And Minnie had like really long pokey eyelashes. And I remember my mom putting it on and she looked absolutely ridiculous. And I was just like in tears laughing and looking at my mom wearing this like mini almost helmet type hat, and it was like the back of it was a snapback, but the front of it was like hard plastic, and that's the only way that I can describe it. It was like one of the strangest hats I'd ever seen in my life, and I just thought it was absolutely hysterical. So I would say that was like probably my first Disney park core memory.
I love that.
That, and also because it was my first flight ever, they gave me some wings, and I wore those wings every day whenever I was in the Disney park. Like I button on one side, the wings on the other side of my shirt, and I'm pretty sure I put a hole in all of the shirts that I wore that trip, but I was very adamant about wearing my wings.
As you should be. It's a very important rite of passage, right?
I think so, too. Do they still give kids wings nowadays on their first airplane flight?
I'm not sure. I don't know. That's a good question. Tweedles out there, let us know. Do they still do that on flights?
Yeah.
Interesting. Great. I love this. All right, moving on. We have at Craig1257 asking, Craig must know you because they know that you have tattoos. Craig wants to know, what's your dream Disney tattoo?
My dream Disney tattoo? Oh, so many. I have like a Pinterest board. So, as I said earlier, I love a soft spook, so I think adding to the existing Haunted Mansion tattoo that I have, I would love to have Leota on my body at some point somewhere, and I would also really love to have like a beautiful black and gray stippled kind of silhouette of the Hollywood Tower Hotel somewhere on my body as well. I think that would be super beautiful. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's this one person that I know that has a Disney sleeve, and it's all Disney forms of transportation. So he has like a bus tattooed on him. He also has the ferry. He also has, I can't remember what was the other one. Oh, and he also has a monorail tattoo too. And it's so genius, and I'm like mad that I didn't think of it first. Like some type of theme like that.
Yeah. That's great. There's so many wonderful Disney tattoos out there. They're just beautiful. I want to get one. I have not yet. I don't know. I just haven't found the perfect one. But the Tower of Terror sounds really like a great one to have.
It would be beautiful, I think, with like lightning too. I just I have a whole vision of it, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Well, keep us posted and let us know. Maybe we'll have to do like an Instagram story of you getting a tattoo.
Oh, yes. I would be happy to do that. And if anybody wants to pay for it, I will take all Venmo submissions for me getting a Disney tattoo. Won't say no to that.
Perfect. Well, speaking of paying for things, we have a question from at JWRinC asking, will you be forgiving student loans?
This is a really important question, and while forgiving everyone's student loans was not included in my personal platform of joining the GDTD executive cabinet, fair. I will say that, yes, your student loans are forgiven. Now, they're forgiven in my eyes, but in the eyes of your higher power that you subscribe to, or the federal government, that is a conversation that you need to have with those two people individually. So that's my response.
Well said. You'll be a great politician someday. Thank you.
I was trying to give a politician answer of like answering the question but not taking responsibility for anything. Did I do good?
Perfectly. You did it perfectly. All right. Our last listener submitted question that we'll ask today on the pod comes from JT. Actually, JT wants to know, what does Ryan love most about his new co-host, JT?
That's a great question. So I don't know if anybody else knows this, but JT has amazing calves. They're like whenever I saw them, I was like, oh my God, those calves are the biggest calves I've ever seen in my whole entire life. So besides his sparkling personality, his warm sense of humor, and his just like amazing, welcoming demeanor, I'm going to say his calves.
Such a great answer. He is 100% blushing right now listening to this. I can already tell. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, JT, on your amazing calves. We celebrate them here on the podcast.
We celebrate them. Way to go, hammies.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you to all the Tweedles who submitted questions. We didn't get to all of them, but we're going to save some for a future episode. So fear not. Your question will be asked later on. But thank you again for all of those questions. It is time we move on to our tea party. Ryan, are you ready
Let's jump into it?
Yeah, so you're ready to spill some hot tea and talk about some hot takes?
I am ready. I'm ready to serve this loose leaf tea over here.
Excellent answer. All right, well, first up on the list to talk about is, what are you watching right now these days on Disney Plus?
Great question. So on Disney Plus, we have been watching the Groot shorts. Absolutely adorable.
Yes.
What we've actually been doing, because, spooky season kicked off this week with it now being in September, is that we'll watch a scary movie on like Shudder. And then after the scary movie is over, as a palate cleanser before we go to sleep, we watch a Groot short. So that has been really great. And it has also just kind of restored my anxiety levels, after watching a horror movie. I'm also watching She-Hulk right now.
Okay.
And another thing that we have been watching because of the kickoff of spooky season, nice soft spook, The Secrets of Sulphur Springs. Have you seen anything about The Secrets of Sulphur Springs?
I have not yet. I've heard a little bit about it, but I have not investigated yet.
It is spectacular. So they did one season like 2 years ago, and then like production was halted, because of COVID. And it's like such a fun mystery. And basically, in a nutshell, it happens at a summer camp in Louisiana, or a hotel that used to be a summer camp. And basically, there's lots of town secrets within the town, and a family ends up buying the hotel, and basically they're trying to solve why a little girl who was a summer camp participant, why she disappeared like 30 years ago.
Okay, yeah. This sounds familiar now.
So fun. Of course, it's like very like Disney Channel original movie acting. So like, don't read too much. Don't think that you're about to get Meryl Streep, at the summer camp or anything. But it leaves you on the edge of your seat. Like I, as like someone solidly in my 30s, gasped several times. The gasp that I gupped at the end of season 1 was spectacular, and they just kicked off season 2. So highly recommend.
Good to know. That is a really good recommendation. Excellent to know.
What are you watching, Patrick?
Well, you and I have talked about this a little bit already, and anyone who knows me right now or is following me knows that I am currently obsessed. I'm rewatching and then watching newer episodes of Blackish on Disney Plus. I have forgotten how funny and how good and how well thought out that show is. And it is exceptional.
It is hysterical. Tracee Ellis Ross, I feel like, deserves the world. She deserves that that award that you were talking about earlier that Walt Disney and Oprah received, just with how hysterical she is.
Yes, 100% that. She is absolutely going to get, what's it called again? The Presidential Medal of Honor goes to Tracee Ellis.
Yes, it goes to Tracee Ellis Ross. What a great show.
She's amazing. It's so good. It's so good. Ugh, I can't get enough of it.
Yeah. Fun fact about Blackish, especially my favorite episodes revolve around Tracee Ellis Ross, like figuring out her identity as a mixed woman and having a black husband and also black children. That is exactly my family dynamic. My mom was mixed and my dad's black, and that was the very first time that I'd ever seen that scene and explicitly talked about on a show before. And I thought that was genius.
This is such a perfect prime example of like why representation matters so much, so people can see themselves on screen and like believe that they can achieve more than they ever thought they could. It's so exceptional. What I love a lot about this show is that it plays this amazing, I guess it walks a line, I would say, of like teaching a lot of people of like what the black experience might be like, at least for this family, without actually like sitting down and like having it being a history. You know what I mean? It just makes it so accessible as somebody who that was not my experience, obviously, growing up. And it's incredible. It's so well done. I just love it.
I completely agree, especially a lot of the times when non-Black people are learning about Black history or Black culture, it often lots of tragedy or lots of oppression and lots of, really difficult topics. And I think that those are all, yes, part of the Black experience, but something that gets left out in those moments when non-Black people are learning about Black culture is that Black joy gets left out. And I feel like Blackish does a really good job of educating people on Black culture, but most importantly, teaching about the joy that comes from being Black. And I think that that's beautiful.
That is such a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Not only are we learning about these very, as you said, what can be potentially uncomfortable topics, right, to talk about, we are also learning about just like everyday life of a traditional, I guess, what does that even mean anymore? But a traditional Black family is so important, such an important story to tell. So yeah, great point. Great point. All right, let's move on, shall we? Clean cup, move down to our next topic is a little bit more controversial. Is Disney getting too expensive? Thoughts and prayers?
Thoughts and prayers. I definitely think, like, of course, I understand that ticket prices have to be raised with, a sub-market and, I know that the economy, of course, prices are going to go up on anything as like the world continues to revolve and an increase in demand happens. I think what gets me with Disney being too expensive is now all of the additional prices that are outside of that ticket. So if you really think about it, like you have a family, they're going to pay for their ticket of admission. They're probably based on like who wants to ride what, probably going to drop at least, if it's a family that has multiple people in it, probably drop at least $100 just for one lightning lane. Right. And then like all of the other different things, merch, if you really want the whole experience, getting a magic band, linking all the stuff to that magic band. There's just so many like add to cart things that you have after you get into the parks now that it's, I feel like, becoming less accessible to families that would be impacted economically over other families. And I think that that's tough, I think about whenever I was a kid in Arkansas, we would save up for the whole entire year to go to Disney World. And
sure, yeah.
And that was back when fast passes were free and like there weren't nearly as many costs to do as many things as there are now. I don't even think that there was like an extra cost for park hopper tickets back then. And now I can't imagine how many years you have to save up for, like, say, a family of 4 to go in and really have the all-inclusive Disney experience anymore. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you're saying. It's Disney already, right, is very cost prohibitive for a lot of people, right? It is not, it's already baked in that it is not accessible, as we all know, to everybody in the United States of America or in the world. It's a very expensive vacation. And so, where I draw a line in the sand is, as you were saying, all of these add-ons like the Genie Plus that you have to pay for now or the Lightning Lanes. I think it seems ridiculous that Disney is charging you to get on a ride that you've already paid for as your ticket to get into the park, right? It doesn't, that to me feels a little beyond what is reasonable for them to be charging for. I think that there's a better way to do it, especially knowing that they had a better way to do it. They had the fast passes, right? That you could book 3 in a day, and then if you used them, you could get other ones later that day. And it was free. Like, you did not have to pay for it. You didn't have to pay for a ride that you were already paying for to get into the park. So that makes me a little upset.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then especially if you break down things even further, like a lot of merch now, or a lot of even if you look at Disney pins, or they have tiers now, right? Like okay, this color Disney pin costs this much, and now this Disney pin costs an extra $10.
Right.
I think about how much money, whenever I go into a blind rage in any in World of Disney, how much money I spend just alone by myself. I can't imagine how much money like a family with multiple children are spending on any given trip. And I do think that they need to consider what options that they can provide to people who do not have the economic access to have like a full-blown Disney trip like some other families do. Or even you have to think about when it comes to, not to get too heavy, but systems of oppression, like are there certain demographic groups of people that they're limiting to having a Disney experience and therefore aren't getting to have the in-person moments of that one character out of all the other characters that represents their identity, right?
Yes.
I think
absolutely.
that they really have to consider, like, maybe we need to be a little bit more accessible. And that might be a take that would not make me Bob's favorite guest anymore. So I'll have to really work on a lot of jingles to make up for that. But that is, yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, it doesn't escape me that like I am someone who is buying into it all, right? Like literally, I have an annual pass and I make multiple trips to the Disney parks every year. So, am I part of the problem? Who can say? Because I'm still supporting it with my money. But there are definitely, I think that they need to take a step back and go, are we doing too much? And I think the answer is yes. They are doing too much and charging too much. And there's too many add-ons. There's too many subscription services. There are too many. It needs to be, let's at least simplify it and make it all baked into one thing, right? And make it less confusing for everybody. That would go a long way.
I agree. I think about, too, those people. Like, I saw an article the other day about how, like, these two elderly people, they just wanted to go to Disney for the day, and so they went and bought a ticket, but they didn't have a park reservation, and so they didn't get into the park. And you just really think about it, there's, like, so many different stipulations now when it comes to going to Disney and doing things that, if you really think about it, if you don't have a smartphone, then what is your experience like after that? You have to have an app. You have to be able to order quick service on the app. You have to be able to book your special experience on the app. I think that we do have to, like, while technology is great, we do have to roll it back a little bit and think about what people have access to overall, to make it a more equitable experience. I feel like that was part of Walt's original vision, was to have a space in which all families could come to. And so I would like to see a little bit more of that, hopefully, in the future.
Amen to that. Next week on our podcast, we're going to talk about why we hate Disney so much. We're going to explore that a little bit more. I'm just kidding. No.
And with my economics degree that I don't have.
I love that. No, yeah, I mean, I think, it's a tricky topic, right? I mean, we were talking about before, Disney does do so many good things for the community, right? They do so many donations throughout the world, throughout our country. They do, in fact, invite families in who maybe couldn't otherwise afford it. But those things get swept under the rug a little bit because their ticket prices are so high, and because, their food is so expensive, and because it does get very confusing to go to a Disney park. So unfortunately, that's what you see a lot in the news are some of these not so great stories about Disney and their pricing. So, but it's definitely something worth talking about. Obviously, a conversation we should continue to have. I think here on the podcast, we obviously don't praise Disney without exception, right? There are things that we need to talk about that they need to be called to the table for, and this is one of those topics, I would say.
For sure.
Well, moving on to our last topic, let's end on a brighter note, or maybe not a brighter note, because some of these people are just outlandish and need to be stopped, or keep doing it because it makes me laugh. Social media stunts, Ryan, in the Disney parks lately. What is happening?
People have lost their ever-loving mind. That's what's happened.
Haven't they? Yes.
I understand that, like, we live in a world of social media, and unfortunately a way to get attention on social media is by going viral, by doing something absolutely insane. You're either doing something absolutely insane, or you are the most purest of heart, like that little boy who loves corn so much.
Aw, yes.
I love him. I hope he's getting all the royalties from Spotify now that they put his song on Spotify. I stream it every day in hopes that we're funding his college fund. Gosh. Yeah, I just like, I get social media is a thing, but you also have to think about like respecting other people. And like we just said, Disney is like so expensive now. This might be some of these families' one shot at going to Disney World and making memories that will last a lifetime for their kids. And if you're getting off the boat and trying to get a cucumber and living up the land, you're really shattering that experience for those poor babies. And so, you know, I just want to say, like, all of the teenagers / people who are around our age that are doing these things for internet recognition, just, like, be aware of where you are and, like, the people that you're impacting when you take those actions.
And I promise you, in 10 years, you're going to regret having done some of those dumb things. Because it's forever. It's online forever now.
It's online forever. And not only that, but you probably got banned from every Disney park ever for the rest of your life. And, like, who wants that? That's the first thing that I think of when I hear these things. I'm like, first of all, I have too much anxiety and too much of a people-pleasing nature to ever do something like any of those things in a park, let alone if I ever got banned from Disney World. Like, you have to really reevaluate your life's choices if you get banned from a children's theme park. Like, at what point do we say, you know what? I need to reevaluate. I need to regroup. You know? I
need to regroup. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Here's what I will say, though. The guy who was in the fountain in Disney Springs with the surfboard, he can kind of get it. He was hot. I was into that.
I haven't seen this. So he was trying to surf at the fountain in Disney Springs, or he was just on a surfboard.
He like had a surfboard in his arm, I think, and he was just being, I don't know what the whole story was, but I was like, oh, I mean, sir, don't do that, but please keep your shirt off at all times because you are very delicious looking.
Patrick, you like apply for a job in security now.
I'm like, if that's the people that I get to, handle, then absolutely sign me up for that.
Just an individual search, it's standard. It's
very that. Oh, I love it. Well, I think that's a good place to end this conversation here for the day. Thank you, Ryan, once again for just giving us your Disney history, for opening up on your past and what makes you qualified, I would say, to be a co-host here on Gaze to the D. I cannot wait to see what the future brings for this podcast and for you as a host on it.
Thank you so much, Patrick. That means a ton. I am still like, it feels like a dream. This doesn't feel real to even be here and be talking to you. I'm still just like in awe that I was even asked to do this. So I am just like so proud of this right now. And my parting words for the episode is Bob Chapek. I will see you soon. Your favorite guest, your most favorable guest, XOXO Ryan.
XOXO Ryan. I love that. Amazing. Well, Tweedles out there, again, thank you for your questions that you submitted. If you have thoughts on anything that we talked about today on the podcast, please let us know. You can find us on the social medias at GDTD Podcast, or you can always send us a voice memo or an email to info@gazetothed.com. I guess my last question for you here, Ryan, is will we be seeing you in a Disney fountain anytime soon with the surfboard?
You won't see me with the surfboard in a Disney fountain, but you may, if you drive like 45 additional minutes, see me with the surfboard at Cocoa Beach.
Fair enough. Just pop that top off and we'll be good to go.
Okay. Anytime that I can show off the girls, I do like to do so. So, sounds great.
Fantastic. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, Patrick.
We have reached the end of the episode, and you all know what that means. It's time for some Quick D.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Okay, let's do it. Let's get into it.
I love this. I wish you could all see Ryan right now on Zoom. He is literally very excited, jumping out of his seat right now for
Just
Quick D.
so pumped for Quick D. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Okay, let's do it.
Perfect. All right. So as we did last week, and I think we're going to have to keep doing this because people are sending in some fun questions. We have crowdsourced our Quick D questions on Instagram. So thank you for responding to us. We have 2 questions that we're going to read today for Quick D. The first comes from @Saul Bassist asking, what would your dream Disney restaurant be?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, in terms of soft spooks, I have a thought here.
Okay.
Planet Hollywood in Disney Springs. I want it to close. I want it to get reconstructed. And I want it to get flipped. And I want it to be a Disney Villains bar and also Disney Villains bar and dining experience. And I think that there's just like so many different things that you could do. There's so many cool effects that they could do, so many different rooms that they could have people seated in.
Yes.
And it would be spectacular. Like, I am talking for our local Orlando people, Cocktails and Screams in downtown. If you've ever been to Cocktails and Screams, I'm thinking like that level of theming. We need a Disney Villains bar, 21 and up.
Love this. I love this. First of all, I love that you're getting rid of Planet Hollywood because can we just
It's
get
time.
rid of Planet Hollywood?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
It has seen its last days. We're done with Planet Hollywood, but that's a great idea. I think it seems clear that we're not probably going to get a Villains Park that we all have been demanding for
want it
years
so
and years
bad.
and years. So let's get a big Disney Villains restaurant like that. I love that idea. I'm down for that.
What about you?
I'm gonna just go ahead and steal your idea and say that's exactly what I want to do as well. They can call it Disney Screams in Disney Springs.
Screams. That's
I love this.
genius. Oh my gosh, I love that. Okay.
Amazing. Okay, it's happening. That's all we need to.
Okay.
We're doing it. Disney Screams in Disney Springs. All right. So our last question here comes from @BoyWhoHasEverything, who is who wants to know: you're stuck inside a fur character costume forever. Who are you living the rest of your days as?
Oh my god.
What a weird question. I love it.
A weird question. Also a little Midsummer, but I'm kind of into it. If I have to be stuck in a fur costume for the rest of my life, who am I gonna be?
Consider like the heat factor.
Yeah.
But also I feel like there's maybe like how do I say this? There's also an attraction factor as well.
Ooh,
this could be very interesting. And by attraction, I don't mean an attraction in the park. I mean like sexually. It could be very interesting.
It could be very interesting, especially because this is a whole suit. Like you're not a face character, right?
It's a whole situation. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I think my answer is technically like anatomically impossible because I'm too tall to be this character. But I think I would want to be in a Daisy suit for the rest of my life because then I could do whatever the you-know-what that I want to.
I see this for you. For sure.
Daisy gets to do whatever she wants. Daisy owns the park whenever she is out and about. And the sass, the strut, I just want to give it. Yeah.
I live for videos of Daisy Duck voguing. It is the funniest thing that ever happens.
Hysterical. And anytime that Daisy Duck meets any LGBTQ person in any park and there's a video of it, ally. Daisy's an ally.
Ally. I love it. I see that for you. I love it.
Yeah. What about you?
What about me? Okay, good question. I feel like Tigger might be a fun one to be as well.
Yeah.
You know, I like it's not so hot of a costume, I feel like, and it's slenderizing as well. I like that about it. I have the opposite problem. I don't feel like I'm tall enough to be Tigger, though. Might be my problem. I might have to be stuck with Yeah, we should switch, or I might have to be like Piglet instead of Tigger.
A piglet.
Just let your imagination go wild with that. It's fine, everybody. It's fine.
Oh, Piglet. Oh, no.
Oh, yep. Yep, that's what's happening.
That's okay, Patrick. You're safe here. Remember, psychological safety on this team.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast. Submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See ya real soon.